Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So it is episode 3 of my Keeping It Neutral series. So this one is all about kind of winged shadows, wing liners. So as per usual, I've got 3 looks for you. Quite a nice, soft, kind of classic wing liner look, a kind of bottom heavy, bit dramatic winged look, and then a very smoky winged shadow look. So if you're interested, please keep on watching. So no surprise, I'm going to prep and prime my eyes to begin with the Lily Lola eye primer. So I'm going to start with kind of more, the classic wing liner look, maybe possibly a bit cat eye style. So before I actually start with the winged portion, I'm just going to add some definition to the eye, so very similar to look 1 in the soft looks. I'm going to take, actually going to go with cinnamon on a relatively small fluffy brush. This is the Luxie, no idea the name is rubbed off, but quite a small fluffy brush. Take some cinnamon. I'm going to pop this through the crease area to build up some definition there. Okay, then taking a much fluffier brush, again this is Luxie, taper blending. I'm going to take raw sienna and use that just to buff that out. I'm going to take a bit of Bare Necessities just to further blend. Then actually taking some of Nothing Else, I'm just going to gently sweep that across the lid. Just add a bit of brightness there. Okay, so we just added some definition to the eye, so actually onto the winged portion. Now of course you can use like pencils and actual liquid liner and stuff. I'm going to use eyeshadow. I actually much prefer using eyeshadow or eye pencils as opposed to liquid liners. It's just my personal preference. I find it easier to work with, a little bit less messy, and I feel like I've got more control. So I'm going to do shadow wing liners for all of these. So I'm actually going to go in with some of, which one am I going to do? I'm going to go with Throwback. I'm going to go for quite a warm wing liner. I'm using an angle brush. This is actually one I use for my brows. Again, it's a Luxie, it's just their small angled brush. Tap off. And all I'm going to do is look directly into the mirror and kind of where my lower lash line kind of ends, I'm going to start there and bring it up towards the kind of tail end of my brow. I'm not going to come too far out with this because I just want it to be quite a nice, soft, simple wing liner. So probably about that far will do. And then I'm just going to flip my brush, get the tip and just bring it down onto the lid. I can fill it in. And then all I'm going to do is whatever's left on this brush, I'm not going to pick up any more product just yet, is I'm just going to start feathering this along the rest of the lash line. And then I'll just go back in, looking at where everything is, the placement, and I can go ahead and neaten up areas where I need to, soften it maybe a little bit. And what you can do as well, if you feel like you've gone too heavy on the wing, not quite the right angle, is I just take you can take a much smaller brush to get more precision, but I think this works just as well for me. So this is a brush I used for concealer, but also my eye primer, and I just gently go over a couple of times, getting closer and closer And you'll see I've started to sweep that shadow just to get a bit more of an angle, make the wing a little bit smaller because I don't want this one to be really intense. And then all I do is just do circular motions to kind of get rid of some of that shadow that I dragged across the eye. So something just like that. And then just go ahead and load up the upper lashes with some mascara. Okay, and that is the first look done. So very kind of classic winged liner look. Put a little definition through the crease and then yeah, just gone with it with the winged portion. You can, if you're someone who does prefer much darker shades, go for a darker brown, go for a black, or if you want a slightly lighter appearance, go for a slightly lighter neutral brown. So this is the classic wing liner look number 1 done. And now we're going to move on to the kind of bottom heavy, slightly more dramatic winged shadow look. Okay, so on to look number 2, like I said, the bottom heavy wing liner look. Now I'm actually going to keep the lid bare. So I have put a little bit of eye primer on just to kind of give a more even canvas. And what I am also going to do is just take nothing else closest to my skin tone and just set the lid. Oh, something I should have mentioned, like I said, I bought this purposely for the series to have like the one palette to use throughout all the looks. Obviously you don't have to go out and buy this palette. I just wanted to kind of demonstrate if you only had like one neutral palette, kind of how much variety of looks that you could do with it. So obviously when I'm saying I'm using a certain shade, it's kind of whatever shade you've got matches or whatever one that you would rather use to suit your skin tone as well. So just, yeah, just wanted to kind of, I didn't really mention that at the beginning. Okay, so we're going to go straight to the bottom lash line. For this, I actually want a pencil brush to start. Okay, so a pencil brush, and I've gone for quite a thin pencil brush as well. We're going to go straight in with the black. So for this palette, it's the shade Illicit. Pick some up. And I'm going to start off by just going along the lower lash line. Just add a bit of smoke along here. So I'm just going to do this portion first. Then what I'm going to do is take a small fluffy brush, take the grey shade, and just soften and blend that out. And it's up to you kind of how far down you want to bring this under your lash line, how smoky you want to go. It's entirely up to you. My eyes are starting to water, which isn't helpful. And what you can do is, if you think you've gone too far, just take the concealer brush or eye primer brush and just neaten up slightly. I'm going to come back to the eye in a minute once it's had a chance to stop watering. So yeah, so just taking the grey again and smoking out the lower lash line. Is switch to the angled brush again. Still keeping with the black shade. And then what I'm going to do is follow, and now I've got that kind of guideline now because I've done the lower lash line. So I'm literally going to use it just to bring it up, and it is going to go a slight more like a kind of steeper angle than the last look. Flat out and then just come back in. But the wing portion itself is actually going to be a lot shorter, and it's only going to come a smaller way onto the actual lid. The drama's along the lower lash line and bring it out to the wing, and then yeah, like I said, just ever so slightly will pop onto the actual lid. And again, feel free to use concealer or eye primer if you just want to neaten up your wings slightly, make it sharper maybe. And then yeah, I just use circular motions just to tidy that up. And the thing is, once you've got the mascara on, that won't look quite so harsh with the stop-start on the actual lid. It kind of just blend into the lashes, into the mascara. And that's the other thing with shadow, and also I say eye pencils as opposed to liquid. It's easier to clean up, I feel, because sometimes with the liquid liners, either they dry too quick, so you haven't got much room to kind of play with to try and fix whatever you've done. And secondly, they're probably easy, if they don't dry too quickly, they're probably easy to smudge and you just get kind of either the black or brown everywhere. And then I'm also going to do it with the angled brush, is take a little bit and just add a slight kind of cat eye effect in the inner corner. So I've switched it, so I'm using the kind of tip end of the angle. I'm using it on its kind of like side, so the most thinnest part of this brush, to kind of get that shape. I'm just following my natural, where my eye kind of naturally comes down on the upper portion. I'm following that down slightly and then just using it to connect to the lower lash line. And hopefully my eye doesn't start watering again. Okay, and then I'm going to load up my lashes with the Lily Lolo Big Lash. Okay, and that is the second look complete. So yeah, just much more of a bottom heavy winged liner style. Just bringing the wing just a smaller bit onto the lid. And like I said, once you've got mascara on, it kind of hides where it sort of starts on the lid. And yeah, I just think it's quite a fun, different way of doing a wing liner. And you can go much smokier, much grungier on the lower lash line if you wanted to. Just to kind of get that contrast between the lid and the lower lash line. But yeah, this is look number 2 complete, so I really hope you enjoyed this look. The third and final one for this episode is going to be like a smoky winged liner look. I've done these quite a lot, so yeah, I hope you enjoy and stay tuned for look number 3. Okay, so on to the third and final winged liner, winged shadow look. So like I said, it's going to be a smoky one. It's one I do actually quite a lot, and I think it's really pretty to do. I really like doing it. So I'm actually going to start off this time with a pencil brush as opposed to a small angled brush. I prefer it being slightly thicker to begin with, and then we can smoke it out, and I can also neaten it up. But yeah, my preference to begin with is a pencil brush. I'm going to go in with After Dark for this to begin with. Load up my pencil brush. Kind of same method as the first one. I just kind of follow my lower lash line in terms of the angle. Probably going to bring it a bit further out than I usually would do. And again, just bring it onto the lid. And I'm just going to bring it to about almost the inner corner. And it is quite thick, and it will probably stay relatively thick to begin with. I just like the way of getting the shape down. It's a real quick, easy way of getting the shape down. I don't need it to be really super precise, hence why I'm going for a pencil brush as opposed to the wing liner. I will use that brush at some point, but for now, just for the initial bit, the pencil brush is going to work. So taking a small fluffy brush, I'm going to go in with slow motion next. And I use this to start blending out that shade. So like I said, this wing portion is going to be quite thick because I'm going to smoke it out with multiple shades. It should hopefully look quite cool afterwards. Okay, so I've kind of blended out that eye. You can see it's kind of lost a bit of intensity with the initial shade, but we will go back in afterwards. I want to get that blend and that gradient going. So I'm just taking, like I said, that shade slow motion and kind of really going over the edges with this. Okay, same brush again. I'm going to add some warmth to it. So I'm going to go in with the shade Cinnamon next. And I'm going to actually go, I'm not going to touch the shade After Dark where we put After Dark. I'm going to go kind of above where I've just put slow motion. So blending out that second shade we put down. Taking a super fluffy brush, I'm going to go in with Raw Sienna. I'm actually going to focus this in the inner portion of the crease, and then lightly, with light pressure, go across the rest. And this will be my final kind of blend at the top here. Now I'm going to do is take the pencil brush, go back with After Dark, which was the very first colour we put down, and I'm just going to slowly add more of this back in to what we've done. But I'm using a much lighter pressure, so it doesn't get that same obvious kind of outline of the wing like when we first applied it. It's going to be much more of a feathered into the rest of the colours look. So you're still going to see that wing, but it's going to be a softer, smokier version of it. So it's just going to help bring intensity back. And I'm just going to blend it into the other shades. And I just want to bring a bit more intensity back along the lash line. I'm just going to take a bit more of slow motion and just blend the edges of that dark shade again, just to make sure it's more of a blended wing look. I'm going to take some of Nothing Else just on my little finger and actually just pop it in the inner corner, just add a touch of brightness. Yeah, you can still see that wing that we've created, but it's much more smokier, it's slightly more faded in, it's more of a gradient effect on the eyes, which I think is really pretty, and just makes it a bit more smokier, a bit more dramatic. So what I'm going to do is now load up my upper lashes with the Lily Lola Big Lash.